Well, if my cathedral of cutting edge taste holds no interest for your tragically Canadian sensibilities, then I shall be forced to grant you a swift exit from the premises and a fast entrance into hell.
Hmm. My thought goes to that Arnold Schwarzenegger End of the World movie, or maybe Constantine.
Uh, Not quite. It's a movie based off a graphic, like a comic book graphic novel.
Fairly
I,
recent, or
it's like 2007, I think, 2008, somewhere in that area. Um, Had
wouldn't
a
be The
cameo.
Watchmen, would it be?
No, it's not
Okay.
The Watchmen. It's definitely not as dark as The Watchmen. It had a
Hellboy?
cameo. No, not quite. Um, it's very video game heavy. It's a
Oh,
lot of
so
video
this is
game.
like Scott Pilgrim?
That's the one.
Okay.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non è facile feeling. Spirito Santo.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
In this episode, we're going to check out why the tragedy in Benghazi was such a BFD as we get a look into this true story Michael Bay style with 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi from 2016. Then we'll head across the pond to traverse the Thames and become a real rock'n'rolla, which is the name of this Guy Ritchie crime thriller from 2008.
Just a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on these films. So if you haven't seen one and you don't want to get spoiled, just skip ahead to avoid those spoilers.
And if you want to be a part of the Movie Clubcast, hit that subscribe button, the bell notification, all the notifications, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. How you doing, Joey?
I'm doing all right, man. I can't complain
Oh, I'm
too
exhausted.
much.
It's been a crazy ass spring with events every single night, and this is like the second night in a row just recently where it's like nothing going on. It's glorious, so hopefully I can recoup some energy. Yeah, I've been in this bad spell of like I'll watch some silly movie with my kids, and then like I'll watch my own movie, and then I'll just kind of like fall asleep during it. So it's like hadn't been doing quite as much watching, but I guess that's kind of it's good. Keeps the review backlog down. But like I'm ready for summer because I like sleeping more, but at the same time, like you get out of that nice steamy shower, you feel all good and refreshed, and then you go outside and you start sweating again. So that's no fun. Good old South Carolina humidity.
I like your go outside, or I'm like I get out of the shower and I just walk back to my computer or TV. But I don't have three male children, so
Did you do anything on Memorial Day?
yeah, I worked.
Oh,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was it. Just
yeah.
work.
We had a pretty good Memorial Day weekend. It was nice to have a long weekend. We went to the beach with some friends. It was a real cool, windy, good time there, and went to a cookout that my in-laws did with some shish kebabs. So that was enjoyable. Got some sewing done on the old scout uniform since my boy moved up to the khaki uniform now that he's a Weeblo. Um, And then my parents' house on Monday, my uncle was in town, so he enjoys hearing about my movie habit, and I actually shared my Letterboxd profile with him, and he recommended a short film that I checked out and reviewed, and so he appreciates my writing. So that makes one within the family. But yeah, I guess the big highlight of Memorial Day was Nolan finally talked me and my nephew Bryce into chicken fighting with them. It had been a long time since we've done this, and they have grown quite a bit. And yeah, having 80-pound kids on your back, wailing at each other for 5 minutes at a time, will really kind of strain your neck. So yeah, I've been hurting all this week ever since.
Sounds like you're getting old there, Justin.
So either that or I don't know if they were really good at staying on or if they were just really bad at throwing each other off, but these rounds lasted forever. So what else is going on? Yeah, it's just been in a lot of comfort movies lately. I guess just since I've been just so kind of tired, it's been kind of springing for a lot of silly comedies. I got one coming up in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Watched some Billy Madison. Man,
I was about to ask if it was the one we talked about was going to be in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, but like,
no, not that one. I don't. Gosh, Billy Madison. No, I'm hoping my rewatch of the Adam Sandler movies goes up. It was started on a high with Happy Gilmore, and then Billy Madison was quite the slump. So hopefully, I'm very curious if Waterboy holds up.
I mean, Happy Gilmore is like the pinnacle, and then like the Waterboy and like The Longest Yard and are pretty up there, I guess. But I did like Billy Madison back in the day. I just haven't seen it in a long time.
The ones I can think of where he acts the most silly are Billy Madison, which I couldn't get into, The Waterboy, and then what's the one? Little Nicky. I think he acts pretty silly in that one too.
I was not a big fan of Little Nicky. I did like Big Daddy.
Yeah.
And I think it was Mr. Deeds, and that one was okay. From
yeah.
what I recall.
Yeah, he doesn't act silly. He just kind of acts like naive in that one, and like, yeah, he kind of acts more about his wits in like Happy Gilmore and the one you just said, Big Daddy. So, all right. So what's happening with you?
Not a whole lot. I have been getting ready for the new Magic set that's about to come out, Modern Horizons 2.
Okay.
So a lot of big spoiler season there. All sorts of crazy reprints, all sorts of like new cards that they're gonna put into the modern format, and then cards that haven't been in it they're gonna put in there too, and then stuff for what I play, which is Commander. It's gonna be some cool stuff for that. And then the other thing has really just been working with my friend Ty, and it's part of the reason I had got the new webcam. Actually, we are gonna start our own channel. Obviously, nothing to do with movies, and not gonna like compete against myself or anything. But it's gonna be a Magic channel, so it's something else that I've wanted to do just so that I can let out get that avenue of myself out there as well. So it won't be like a podcast. We might eventually would go to that, doing a podcast as well, but it's going to be actual like gameplay and that kind of stuff. So there'll be probably a lot of them where if you've watched, anybody who's out there has ever watched like Playing with Power or Play to Win, since the pandemic, a lot of it's just all webcam based, but now that stuff's opening back up, we might be able to get like in-person games. Now, any in-person games probably would not have me and Ty, as he lives 6 hours away. But that's all that's been going on. Just working on that. So
there is a pretty big Magic tube scene.
Yeah, I mean, I'm subscribed to 4 or 5 Magic channels, I think, at least. So yeah, so it's a pretty big thing out there.
How many Magic cards do you have?
I have 15 Commander decks, which are 100 cards a piece. So, I mean, that's 1,500, and that's a little less because most of the time you don't usually count basic lands. And then I do have some cards that aren't indexed. I don't have a ton anymore. I got rid of a lot of my cards I weren't using just to not have bulk laying around or, to get new cards.
So to be a Magic guy, does it like require like a weekly trip to the comic book store to like pick up the new whatever's released, or how does that
It
work?
doesn't. No, it doesn't require that. One, the comic, and I guess in some places the comic book store would be the place to go. Here in town, the comic book store and the Magic card shop are actually in the same building, in the same plaza with, like, I think, a barber shop or a salon in between them. Um, but you don't have to always. It depends on what you want to play. So, like, if you want to play standard, then yeah, anytime like a new standard set comes out, you have to either go and you can gamble and buy like a box, or you can buy stuff, pre-order the cards that you think are going to help the deck you're playing. If you're playing like typically more casual format like Commander, like I play, you can just kind of pick and choose what cards you want. And then there's something like Modern Horizons, which is like a special set, and because they're reprinting cards that haven't been reprinted in a long time, and all this other stuff, like the value to buy a box, it'd be really hard to whiff and not get your value and then some. It just also will depend on how prices drop once the set comes out. Because if a set is opened a bunch and there's more of the cards in the wild, then the prices can drop depending on what they are. But there's tons and tons of formats and tons of ways to play. So now it just depends on what you're doing.
Were you ever into the World of Warcraft?
I never played WoW. I have a lot of friends who still play WoW, but that was never my thing.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't do more fantasy games. I don't know. They just, guess, never found the avenue for them. I remember going to college and seeing the little D&D table there at the back of Richardson, but never stopped to really check out how to do any of that.
I mean, D&D is something I've gotten into in like the end of 2019. I mean, I'm in my third campaign, but we've never really gotten super far in any of them just because of life. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I thought I was gonna hate like character making because like I hate doing that in video games. But it's been pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm actually hoping we're gonna start now that Carl's back home because he's the DM. We're gonna hopefully start our campaign back up. But we got to like figure out a new schedule because everyone's date availability has changed. So.
Gotcha. All right, let's get into some movie talk with the What Would You Watch between these two next. Had a while. It took me a while to figure out this one tonight, but I went 80s on you, and I wanted to see if you would go for the Goonies or the Gremlins.
Wow,
G&G.
it has been. You said Goonies. I thought I was going to go with the standard Goonies / Stand By Me.
I'm not that big of a Stand By Me guy. I mean, I've seen it, but I didn't grow up with it, so I've only seen it the one time.
I got you. I actually think I feel like I saw the Goonies when I was a kid. I just don't really remember it, and I saw it when I was a little bit older of a kid. And then it's been a long time since I've seen either one of them. Gremlins too. I would probably pick the Gremlins, just because I think it speaks to me a little bit more. But I mean, either really.
Okay. We watch the Gremlins whenever we have a night around Christmas where my wife's not around. We pop in the Gremlins, so that's like a yearly thing. And the Goonies has kind of become like that. I think we watched it this year at least once. So yeah, those are in pretty regular rotation around these parts.
The wife doesn't like the Gremlins.
Not that she doesn't. I mean, I'm sure she could tolerate it, but I might as well. I mean, it's a little bit scary, so I might as well just, she's off doing her thing. We can sit down and have some fun watching Gremlins. That was my son's first horror movie, so that was a really interesting icebreaker for him, which got him into a lot of other stuff. So
got him down the rabbit hole, huh?
Yeah, he loves his horror. He'll fall asleep during so much stuff, but if it's a scary movie, he's pretty much engaged the whole time. All right, let's see what else we've been watching lately with the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, mine are the nostalgic, the bad, and the gross.
I've got Bombshell, Terrible But Fun, and Country Roads.
What's your country roads?
Alrighty, that is in Country Roads, Take Me Home, West Virginia. Logan Lucky,
Mm.
which you and I were talking
Okay.
about this a little bit last night. So same guy who did Ocean's 11, Steven
Soderbergh.
Soderbergh.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they even reference it in the movie that is just like it's a Ocean's 7-Eleven, I believe is what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fun heist movie. I thought it was really well done. There are some parts that are, if you think about them too much, it's kind of like, oh, this falls apart. Like West Virginia isn't super close to the Charlotte Motor Speedway, but hey, movie magic, right?
What exactly are they breaking into in this story?
They are stealing all of the concessions money from Charlotte Motor Speedway during the Coca-Cola 600.
Okay.
Um,
$1 million. I don't know.
Yeah, and you've got this other plot where Adam Driver gets arrested on purpose so he can be in the same prison as Daniel Craig, so they can break Daniel Craig out and then break back in the same day to the prison because he's the only one that can open the safe that they got to get through. It's a little ludicrous, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good actors because on top of those two, there's Channing Tatum, Katie Holmes, $1 Million Baby, Hilary Swank. So yeah, there's lots of good actors in it.
Okay.
So
one of these days I'll finally get to it.
yeah, it's that I wish I'd seen it sooner, but it was one of those things I just kept not watching it until I finally did.
Yep.
All right. What's the gross?
All right. So we got into some Chucky movies this week, and I really enjoyed Bride of Chucky. I do remember watching that one as a kid, and yeah, pretty sexy in the opening and pretty crazy, silly, hilariously violent at the end. And then we decided to move on to Seed of Chucky. And that movie added a lot of fluids. And definitely kind of a bait and switch compared to what we get at the very end of Bride of Chucky, where like the infant is like jumping on this person, like attacking them. Like, have you seen Seed of Chucky?
No, I don't think I saw Bride or Seed of Chucky, actually.
So he turns out to be like this confused, like gender neutral doll who ends up in Europe and is like participating in a ventriloquist show, and the guy like in charge of the act calls him shit faced or whatever, and he escapes, and he brings Chucky and Tiff back to life, and so he has to like, he's like, why do you kill people? And it's like, we can't help it. And there's this doll family melodrama crap in there. I mean, there's a few good kills as well, but it went in a whole different direction. I was not quite as into. And like I said, if you have a semen and a baster in a movie, you know you're in trouble. So take that warning.
Yeah. Semen in a vase, huh?
No, baster.
Oh, and a baster. Oh. That's a little better, but not really. Justin over here watching porno.
A violation. Well, I said it was gross. All right, what's Bombshell?
That is Bombshell, as in Bombshell Mamie Van Doren. So, I don't actually know how I came across them while on Letterboxd or something looking for movies, but I came across them, and I was like, oh yeah, Mamie Van Doren, and then the scene from Jack Rabbit Slims from Pulp Fiction popped in my head, and it was like, this one's free to watch. Oh, I remember. I got some notification that Kino was having a sale, and I was just looking through their website, and it was like Mamie Van Doren Noir Trilogy, and of course, then that happened, and then the words noir, and I was like, oh well, I love some noirs apparently. So I checked out the box set and then decided to watch. I watched two of the movies. I watched Vice Raid and Guns, Girls, and Gangsters. They're both like an hour and 10 minutes long or whatever, so they got right to the point. Had that old style, late 50s fighting where it's just like punching until the Tommy guns came out. And one of them, she was it was a straight heist movie, like they were trying to rob an armored car, and then the other one was she was a working girl. So they were both really good and enjoyable. I mean, they weren't like
It's like B movie quality, or
yeah, she was more of the B movie Marilyn Monroe kind of actress. But I thought they were put together well. I mean, I'm obviously not going to be like, oh, it was Casablanca or Citizen Kane or anything like that, but they were enjoyable. I thought they were a good watch to the point of when I bought this new webcam and I was on Amazon, I got that box set from Kino Lorber for $20 or something for like 3 movies. So
all right, to forward me the link for that. I haven't been connected with Kino before.
True Kino.
All right, where are we going next?
Alrighty. We going to bad.
All right, so I could not help myself to get into some Cruella over the weekend, and I watched that trailer. And I'm like, here's a kind of Dark Knight Joker kind of a Disney anti-hero prequel sequel deal remake. Let's go with that, and it delivered exactly that. It was a lot of fun. Emma Stone as Stella, who has a split personality, who whenever her evil side comes out is Cruella. I thought it was a lot of fun. Kind of for being, like the future like dog killer. It was actually a very pet friendly movie with each of like Horace and whatever the other henchman's name is being really into their dogs, and the little dogs helping them and stuff.
Wink is like one of the best characters in the movie.
You got that scene with the moths that come out of the clothing thing, just like in The Dark Knight. And then there's that shot of her on like the motorcycle speeding away, all sad. And I think that's also a scene from the Dark Knight trilogy. So they definitely leveraged some stuff that worked prior, like Devil Wears Prada. There's even kind of a Goodfellas feel in it with how she narrates it and how it's kind of an anti-hero story. So I really enjoyed it. It boggles my mind when I read these reviews where they're like, why are we watching movies about the premise of a puppy killer? I'm like, it's a movie, people. It's not a real person. I don't know. People take the animal violence very, very seriously sometimes. So
I mean, they do, but also in this movie there isn't. I mean, she dog naps the Dalmatians, but she's the one who ends up like she's the one that she has the Dalmatians at the end. Like, she didn't kill them. Did she make a coat that looked like Dalmatians to fuck with the Baroness? Mm-hmm. Yes. Did it work? Yes. But like, she didn't actually kill them. They were just like, oh my god, she killed my dogs to make a coat, and then like 10, 15 minutes later, it's like, oh, there's still the dogs.
Yeah.
So.
And somebody commented on my letterbox that like maybe there's like an alternate timeline now where like the whole 101 Dalmatian story was like made up in order to give Rogers some like publicity for his song or whatever, his song career. I don't want to read that much into it. I just know it was a good time, and I hope they leave it as is. I mean, we already have the Glenn Close live action remake and the original cartoon, so I think it's good if they let dogs lie where they are now.
I mean, yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. Of the 3 people, me and 2 of my friends watched it. I definitely enjoyed it the most. I thought the soundtrack was like freaking fantastic.
Yes.
Where they decided to put Stone Cold Crazy, when she's driving around in the car and she's never driven before, and it's like when she first, like as an adult, turns into Cruella. I thought that was like a really good touch, and they just a lot of good songs from the time, the late '60s where they're supposed to be at. So, and all the cars were dope. I loved all the cars.
The only thing that really threw me off is whenever the Boots Were Made for Walking song came on, and she was like singing to it, but off and badly. I was just like,
because she was drunk.
I know, but it was like just taking me out of it. The fact that like she was like singing along to music that was playing badly. I don't know. That was that.
But when you're drunk and maybe you don't know all the words properly, you don't sing it perfectly. So Like I thought that was a good touch.
Okay. I mean, teach his own. I didn't mind all the different references back to like the original 101 Dalmatians story where you get Anita and Roger in there and find out a little bit of their backstory and kind of tie it all together.
You
I
get
thought it was very
You get
cleverly
Pogo at
done.
the end.
Yeah, Pongo.
Pongo, yeah, not Pogo, Pongo.
All right. So terrible but fun.
Haha. That would be ninjas versus zombies, and then subsequently, because I watched it yesterday, ninjas versus vampires. These are very intentional bad movies. Um, I wouldn't even say B movies. I would say like Z movies or something. Very low budget, but they knew what they were doing. They knew that they were gonna be that kind of movie, so they just kind of leaned into it. They both are just chock full of pop culture references to the point it's like, bruh, did you just watch a Quentin Tarantino movie and be like, oh, he makes pop culture references. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna keep doing that, and I'm gonna keep doing that, and I'm gonna keep doing that. But it looked like it was just a lot of fun to make, and like I said, I enjoyed it. They're not good at all, but they were enjoyable to watch.
I wonder if I will ever get into the verses as deep as you are.
I mean, I'm two of the three movies. At this point, I'll watch the last one. It's like an hour and a half. They're not your kind of movies, Justin. I just they will never be in the Criterion collection, so they'll never be a masterpiece.
Come on now. That's not my only criteria. Watch Billy Madison. Come on now.
And you drug it through the fucking mud on your review. You gave it like 2 stars.
Because it was garbage. Anyways. So my nostalgic is Camp Nowhere. I loved this movie growing up in my late elementary school years. Watched it basically on repeat many years in a row. So it was exactly what I remembered it to be. Loved the scenes of like the kids going all out, spending all this crazy money, throwing their own summer camp and tricking the parents. And Christopher Lloyd's in there, and he it's even better than I remembered doing the whole character actor thing, acting like all the different summer camp people leading the summer camps. It inspired me to make a list on Letterboxd. They were the 90s and the kids are old because that's that kind of kids rule feeling in the movie. Yeah. And yeah, I got a lot of good feedback on there. People added a lot of movies on there I would not quite say were kids rule movies, but I thought, just let the floodgates down. I mean, somebody suggested The Good Son. I'm like, well, that's a kid killing his brother and his adoptive brother trying to stop him. I'm not sure if that's a kid's rule movie, but I don't know. I digress.
I guess the one kid is trying to rule.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, some of the other big ones I can recall are like Blank Check, Camp Nowhere. Yeah, I really enjoyed those movies growing up. Definitely an interesting era for kids back then.
Yeah, Camp Nowhere actually, that's one I'm not even remotely familiar with.
Oh wow, it's on Disney Plus. If you want to check it out, it's a nice fun thing. I mean, there's some bad acting here and there, but on the whole, it was very enjoyable. All right, let's get into our featured movies. And the first one came from Joey's topic of a Michael Bay film. So last time we were on with Paul, I was like, oh, should we watch Pain and Gain? Should we watch 13 Hours? And Paul's just like, yep, you haven't seen 13 Hours, got to go that way. So yeah, Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. What's the plot synopsis, Joey?
So during an attack on a U.S. diplomatic outpost in Libya, a security team struggles to make sense out of the chaos and then take a stand for their lives.
Yeah, man. So what did you think of this pick?
I had a good time watching it. I think my only real issue, and I kind of thought about this not that long before we came on today, was, I sat there and it was a good movie. I thought it was well made. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. But there was just something that I couldn't put my finger on while I was watching it. I was just like, to me, something's off. And I think what it was is so much, and especially lately, where I've been trying to I want to use movies to escape reality,
Mm-hmm.
and this movie is not an escape from reality. It
Mm-hmm.
is, very as real as a movie can be.
Yeah,
And
it's
it was
very
about a real
tense.
thing, and it's about a real thing that happened and all of that. So that's my own, I guess, and that's not even really a complaint. That was just something that I thought of about it. But the movie itself, I thought was very well done.
So instead of being like a relaxing, it was kind of being instead of it being a release, it was more of you're on the edge of your seat kind of deal.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you definitely want that, and that can be your escape. But it's like this was something from not that long ago in our country's history, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a big deal, like a
Mm-hmm.
big deal.
Yeah, I was very whenever I paused it and I saw what the runtime was being over an hour and 20 minutes or 2 hours 20 minutes. I was like, well, I guess all Michael Bay films are that length, but it flew by. I love how his like camera is basically moving constantly, so it never is. There's never a dull moment in a Michael Bay film. I know for some critics that gets exhaustive, but for me, it keeps me really engaged throughout the whole thing, and I thought it was worth the whole ride. Some critics I saw thought the first hour was dull, and I didn't get that at all. I really enjoyed the character building in the first hour, and yeah, this was off my radar for the longest time, and I actually have owned the steelbook of it for a few years because I won it from a YouTube channel called Talk Movies With Us, which they don't do videos anymore, but they were one of my big inspirations for kind of getting into more of the social media movie talk realm. So I want to give them a shout out.
Nice, yeah. I think you are right. Like most of the Michael Bay movies are that a 2.5-ish hour range. Because I mean, same thing with like Pearl Harbor. That's like 2.5 hours. I don't remember Armageddon and The Rock, but
Armageddon, I know, is 2.5 hours. The Rock might be a little shorter.
yeah, Armageddon definitely feels like it's a 2.5 hour long movie. It's just been years since I've seen it. So, but I thought the character development it made actually when it got time to hit that, here's a battle into a battle into a battle, or I guess a battle into a battle or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
It just it made you like, oh, okay, well, we don't want these people to die.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of like this being a big news event, like I remember hearing all of like Benghazi, because like my in-laws are really into Fox News and stuff, and I mean they were rolling with this whole fiasco for the longest time since they were kind of using as ammunition versus Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election. Um, but honestly, I was working in a newsroom when it happened, but for some reason, like beat for beat, like I never really read about exactly what happened here. So actually seeing the events play out in a movie format was pretty beneficial because I actually, see how it went down. I mean, I haven't heard anything about like this being extremely historically inaccurate in any ways. Not that I'm really all that interested in that. I'm, really just down for a good movie. But it is cool to hear that I guess it does represent what these guys did pretty fairly, from my impression, because I guess they were really involved in the process of making this.
Yeah, I would imagine that. I mean, I guess there's also, I guess because there was like such an investigation into Hillary that a lot of this stuff, stuff that they probably wouldn't have had access to became declassified and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. I'm sure because when you're dealing with a secret base that hardly anybody in your own government knows about,
Hmm.
I would imagine there's a lot of classified information.
I thought they did a good job of setting it up with news footage, and they would show that like blue military kind of type on the screen to kind of set up the I guess basically the atmosphere, the environment of what was going on there in Libya. I mean, call me completely naive, I didn't really realize Benghazi was in Libya, and this was part of the whole Gaddafi fallout. So that's how kind of out of the loop I was. But it makes a lot more sense seeing that, just like whenever Saddam went down and like they were all worried about, the country factioning into different groups, and worried about like weapons getting sold off and stuff. The same deal there in Libya, they're in Benghazi, and they really highlight all that pretty well in the opening few minutes of the movie to set the stage, so forth.
Yeah, they did a good job of like going back and showing you, pretty quickly how we got to the point that we're at, and then, throughout the movie, it's yeah, all the factions are buying up weapons from the raided ammo supplies and different stuff like that. So I think they did a really good job of showing that.
The news footage had a lot of grisly scenes of like bodies and stuff, and like at first I was like, "Hey, Nolan, come watch this war movie with me," and then I saw that and I'm like, maybe you just stay playing Mario Odyssey. That's fine. I'll watch this on my own. So,
Yeah, war movies nowadays are especially gruesome. So
yeah, there's definitely a type that I would probably want him to sit in on, but maybe this and Saving Private Ryan, not so much yet. This was so much like Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down. It was they even referenced that in the movie, right? But just the whole feel of this like urban warfare, like getting attacked all of a sudden scenario, it was very Black Hawk Down, which was pretty neat to see.
yeah, well, they're just like, it's fucking Black Hawk Down. It's the movie. And then I think they referenced it again when they're like, in Iraq we had attack choppers. We had, I think they said we had Black Hawks, and it's like, see what they did there.
Yeah.
So all this movie was missing was Josh Hartnett, right?
Yeah. It was cool to see John Krasinski all beefed up for this. I was never an Office fan, but I've kind of followed his career somewhat, and so yeah, this was definitely he did a really good job in this role, along with all the other soldiers who are fairly recognizable, but the actors' names don't really jump to my tongue off the bat.
Well, there's another dude from The Office in there.
Okay.
And then fake Adam Driver. I don't know his real name, but I called him Fake Adam Driver. But I recognize him from Weeds and Orange is the New Black. So that's the guy who was fighting in the shorts.
Okay, the real tall guy. Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and they are all part of this elite contracted unit of soldiers at a
GSW? GSR?
Yeah, GSR sounds right. I'm not sure what that stands for, but yeah, their outpost was there protecting the CIA folks at the secret CIA outpost there, which was not far away from the diplomatic
yeah, it wasn't a
compound.
Diplomatic compound, because it's not a
embassy.
It's not an embassy, yeah.
Yeah, because an embassy apparently requires like a bunch of Marines and stuff, and that was not the case of what they had. They were ready for there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to jump on the subtitles bandwagon with this one because, yeah, my surround sound was a rockin', and like I was like, I kind of hear what they say, but I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. So I put on the subtitles, and it's funny, as soon as you put on the subtitles, everything they say is like, duh, they said that, but like until you put the subtitles on, you don't like know for sure. So it's kind of nice to have that on a loud movie like this, especially when they're not gonna amp up that center channel for you.
Yeah, I mean the explosions and gunshots and all of that were definitely the key focus. Go figure, a Michael Bay movie, the explosions. But I thought they did a good job with the explosions in this movie. They weren't just there to be there.
I was watching Jeremy John's review. He's a real popular YouTuber, and he complains how like the explosions have like this fireworks element in it, and I don't know, that doesn't really bother me. I guess I can kind of see how that makes it not quite as realistic, but it makes it a little flashier. I don't know. Did you notice that at all?
Like when you said that and I started thinking about it, like I can kind of see it a little bit, but I didn't really notice it watching. I think I was just kind of more of just enjoying what I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Yeah, like I mentioned before, like his camera is constantly moving, and he has these vibrant colors, and his style, like it's not as like punching you in the face here, but it's definitely there, and I definitely think I think it keeps it engaging. Damn, they made that CIA lead guy the biggest D-bag in the world.
The chief?
Yeah, the guy who was not granting him to go and take care of things.
Yeah, it's like October 17th, November 17th, October 17th, whatever the friendly militia that was supposed to
Right.
be helping them would not let them. It's like they're going to be the first response, and it's like, bruh, this is a CIA, this is a U.S. ambassador being attacked, and we're a mile away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let us go.
That was a pretty low key group meeting they had there with I guess I forget what they were doing, but it was some kind of convoy. But like one of them just kind of playing video games in the middle of the meeting.
I mean, they're all contracted, whatever. They didn't care.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a different world than actually being enlisted, where you probably get your ass cut for something like that.
Yeah. But they all used to be military guys in the movie, so
Yeah, because I think they compared like their experience to like the two guys in the compound at one point. So to start off with, these guys don't really have much to do. So yeah, it shows kind of how their downtime, like, kind of gives the character development with like their families talking back at home, and they have all this time to work out and be beefcakes. So that's definitely the Michael Bay thing to do, is show the dudes flexing. And I mean, I didn't need all those extra stakes with like the families back at home. Like I cared for the guys as enough as it was, but yeah, a little extra doesn't hurt anything.
yeah, I mean, more humanization. I mean, also, you get we go back to the first scene where they're picking up John Krasinski and he's talking about the wife and the kids, and then you see them later on, and then you find out that his wife's pregnant, and
Hmm. Very deliberate setup there in the opening shot, where like he's like putting his ring in the Altoids thing, and then what he's asked about it later, and just like you can't give your adversary any advantage with that kind of
yeah,
thing. So yeah, already talked about the Gaddafi context of this story. Yeah, definitely interesting how like in this atmosphere, like it was hard to tell who was like pro U.S. in the area and who was militants. Like they're constantly like, "Hey, are we expecting friendlies?" Because they don't want to be like gunning down the wrong people, being accused of war crimes. So it's almost like in a lot of ways they had their like double handcuffed at moments, because they can't just go ahead and blast the guys running at them, because they have to make sure that they have weapons and they're there to go after them.
yeah. Don't fire until you see a gun.
In hindsight, it's pretty crazy that yeah, they had like two guards and an IT guy at the compound, and that was like it. And then like the squad of elite soldiers is like, yeah, this is like a sniper's playground here, and yeah, this is not very well fortified. You need more people here. And they're like, oh, we'll be fine in our safe room. Yeah, not so much when they set the fucking place on fire.
Yeah, and that when all the things started going down, all the guys were just chilling like by the pool, like playing cards or whatever, and they're like running around in like just regular clothes trying to get everything done.
Crazy this happened on 9/11.
Yeah, well, of course it did. So the anniversary and all of that, because that was the 10-year anniversary or something. This happened. The movie was in 2016, but it was set in 2011, right?
Yeah, 9/11's been an interesting stretch with me, because for many, many years I would work on the news at the news station, like having to do the 9/11 show. So I would have to like do all the different like remembrances kind of stuff on there. So it always kind of like wasn't out of sight, out of mind quite as much for me as it was, for other folks. And then yeah, other bad memories on 9/11, but I don't want to get into that. All right, so um, yeah, the whole hanging loose thing was a big what don't they go to some like trade off thing, and like the
Yeah, they're
guys
meeting
going.
with some mercenaries and buying some Russian rockets.
Mhm. And like, yeah, they get him to cool down by doing the hanging loose sign. Which what do you remember what he actually said when he didn't say hanging loose? He said something else.
Something cool. Hang cool or be cool or
All right.
yeah, I think.
So yeah, you definitely feel the tension ramping up as like they go to this one like event where the ambassador's at, and like somebody drops like a tray, and they're like all on edge, like grabbing their guns. Like you can kind of feel like something's about to go down because I mean it's about this event, so it's going to go down any second.
Yeah, and the ambassador was supposed to not have media, and apparently someone leaked it, so it went from oh, so it's supposed to be the ambassador talking to like two people to like a whole event, and so
And then Michael Bay loves his magic hour shots, and rightfully so, because they're pretty awesome. Those are like their pans, and got the sunset and all the palm trees and stuff. Some very gorgeous visuals throughout, and then we enter like the whole middle section of the film, which is basically all at night. So have you ever gone through a drive-through so stressed that you couldn't even order?
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, she's just like, I have 6 hungry kids. Just give me the food. I'm pregnant. That was pretty.
Yeah, she's just like, give me. Well, she's trying to talk to him. She's got all the kids. The kids are like, we want these, and she's like, no, no, no. Yeah, no, that's.
I want 25 Mighty Meals. Yeah, Happy Meals.
I would like 6,000 chicken vaginas, please.
Okay, you can take it after that one.
It's a Family Guy reference
Oh, really?
of while they're in a drive-through, and instead of 6,000 chicken fajitas, it's 6,000 chicken vaginas.
Okay.
But yeah, everyone was just chilling, relaxing on 9/11, shooting some b-ball. They thought they were cool, but then like we said, the dudes with guns start rolling through. So,
Yeah, some awesome scenes of like they definitely tried to cross that like huge like mansion lawn, and you see all the militants running across it, and there's some great scenes of like the I don't want to call it an invasion, more of like the assault. I don't know, some word like that.
yeah, there was definitely an assault on the compound.
And yeah, the CIA guys, they hear about it on the radio. They arm up, or not the CIA guys, the contract soldiers. They get all ready to go, and then yeah, the CIA lead's just like, no, we're don't go. I'm not supposed to be there, which we talked about already. Like we said before, the safe room doesn't do them no good because they set the place on fire, a big old smoke ball, and yeah, you could really feel the heat in this movie, and like you see people like go into the smoke and then they come out of it and then they're like hurling and stuff. So it felt very palpable in that aspect.
Oh yeah, for sure, and especially once the mercenary, I don't say mercenaries, the hired, the
Guns.
GSR, yeah, they get there, and yeah, and you're right. After a minute, like for a minute, they sit there and they're like, no, you can't go, and they're like arguing, and then finally it's like, we're the only people that's going to be able to get there. Fuck this, we're leaving.
Yeah, it's very machismo, but at the same time, I mean, those are the heroes of the movie, and I mean, do you blame them that they wanted to get involved and so forth? So
I mean,
I don't know.
especially after they're like, if you guys need help, call us. We're just a mile away, and then they call them and they get red taped into not being able to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like all the stuff where it's like, oh, we've got this going down. Who can get there? What can happen? Who can help? And it's like, well, we got these people in Tripoli, and it took them forever to get from Tripoli there. Later in the movie, the girl's calling for not even like actual air support, just the F-16s in Italy to fly over, which could have been there in like 20 or 30 minutes. And you're like, whose authority? And she's like, mine, because we're all gonna die, including if you don't do this, all these Americans are gonna die, including me. And then they never showed up.
Blew it off. Yep. Do you really want to go into battle wearing shorts? That's a good line.
I guess he didn't have much of a choice at that point.
Man, once they actually get into like the streets and stuff, man, these beefy soldiers they like stick out pretty bad with like their big guns and night scopes and stuff. But yeah, no one would mess with them. A lot of them would like they would come up on people and be like, "Oh yeah, we're pro America, pro America." You kind of wonder how many of them just kind of faked it just because they didn't want to get blown away right there. But yeah, so they made their way to the compound.
I like they were going past the one guy, and there's all the shooting and stuff going on, and they're just like sitting here watching a soccer game. It's like, well, this is a Tuesday in Benghazi.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, yeah, so much of this movie from this point on is just like people, running around in the dark or at night and these vivid colors and stuff. But so it's a lot of the same stuff over and over again, but it's really cool to see. It's very engaging, I thought. Very convenient that they showed up at the actual compound in between waves, so they were able to save, the few people and not, encounter a bunch of militants there right there at the fire.
I mean, sometimes you got to have a little bit of luck on your side. You had the dude who blew his hands off with the grenade, and he was the dude who was like, "Are you trying to frag us?" And he's like, "No, no, medical." And the dude just, and they kept showing the people shooting the RPGs, and they would like shoot them into the ground, and they would ricochet.
Hmm.
Yeah, but before Sniper Boy started sniping, and they would like shoot him into the ground. But there was, several scenes where it was like, these people clearly don't know what they're doing, and they would hit the ground and then kind of bounce and spin around and shit. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, one part I got a kick out of as they were making their way to the compound, you had like three guys and they like picked this random building and they like did all this work to like get in the building and climb it up and all that kind of climb up the stairs and stuff, and they get up to the top and they're like, "Oh man, this is too far away. We got to try another one." So all that work to find like a sniper's nest, and it was like all for naught in this like panic situation.
Yeah, it was. They had no clear shots, and yeah, so they just had to keep going.
Did you notice how like there's a lot of like handheld camera stuff in here, and it actually kind of made it feel like actual footage in some scenes?
Like I didn't notice that, but you say that, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, that does kind of like almost maybe it was maybe not a handheld, but it's like almost like a GoPro or something like would be on one of the actors kind of deal.
Yeah, so it definitely had like a more realistic feel, which made kind of elevated it from a lot of the previous Warren movies. So I haven't watched a whole lot of recent Warren movies when it comes to like the Middle East, but this one was very solid with how it was put together. Now coming into this, Pain and Gain was my favorite Michael Bay movie, because of how hilarious that movie is. But I think I would lean more on this one now, just because it like uses like the best of Michael Bay's style without going overboard with it. Like there's definitely Michael Bay movies where like the action is so all over the place, it just is downright messy. Like the end of Transformers 2 is a complete shit fest, and there's parts of The Rock where it's like almost incomprehensible of what's going on. So I thought this was a very comprehensible action movie from front to back. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. All the action flowed really well. You definitely have all his slow motion shots where like you see like a fabric in the wind kind of floating or whatever, or the shot of when like they're shooting at the US flag and it's kind of in slow motion. So you have all those different Michael Bayisms, but I didn't think they were like drawn out to like ridiculous extents. Like in Armageddon, like every 5 minutes you're going into a training montage in Armageddon, and it's just like, this is cool, but it's a lot, Michael. Come on, let's move on. Let's go blow up the rock.
No, we don't want to blow up the rock. Who will be in the Fast and Furious movies?
He's not in that movie. I don't know who that would be. Somebody, Bruce Willis. All right, back to the movie. Man, that the damn car that had the guys rescued from the compound. What they like get stopped at the one thing, and then they figure out they're about to get killed, and so they keep going, and they get those flaming flat tires by the time they finally get there. It's like, oh, we turned the wrong way. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, well, because the guy was like super concussed, and he's like, John Krasinski's like, maybe someone else should drive, and he's like, no, I'm driving, god damn it. And then they're all like, he said turn left, and he's like, no, he said not to turn left, and he like drove in like 8 circles, and then finally they went the wrong way and had to drive like they stole it to save their lives.
Yeah, they were pretty lucky to get back to the CIA area after that. Really enjoyed obviously now like we know that there's like drones like circling different like battlefields like this. But it was really cool how it was so clear whenever they would cut to those shots, like especially like during some of the road chase scenes. Those were really cool. Um, yeah, they were definitely ready to kick ass once they finally all got back to the CIA area and they finally had the high ground, huh?
Oh yeah, they definitely had, line of sight and night vision, and they were ready to do the thing.
I was noticing when I was flicking back through it, there's not like a whole lot of gore like during the shoot 'em up scenes. It's not until like the aftermath, like when they're actually seeing people like hurt on the ground, where it's like blood squirting and bone and all kinds of grittiness. So
Yeah, there wasn't like a you usually see like a ton of splatter or something, but like when Homeboy got his arm basically blown off. So that was pretty gruesome.
oh, sorry for our since we're not actually getting the feed from Joey's new snazzy new webcam. He was actually dangling his arm as if his hand had been half blown off. So.
Well, yes, it was hanging loose.
Yeah, hanging loose, hanging arm, all in the family. All right.
Yeah, all in the family of hanging.
Reinforcements from Tripoli stuck at the airport. I finally have that note about the token female. She was French, right?
She was French American.
Because you have that whole movie, Armageddon, where like it's just a bunch of dude astronauts, but we do have the token diplomatic. I'm not really sure what her role was. I guess she knew the language or whatever, and she would be used in some scenarios. Could you expand? You think you can expand on her role?
She was just she was being trying to sorry. She was trying to close some sort of deal. I don't think they ever really elaborate what kind of deal it is, because every time they would get close to her closing a deal, they'd have to run. Someone was tailing them, or that's when the battle started, and they're like, "Hey, you got to come back to the compound right now." But she was kind of snooty at first. Like she was like, "Don't y'all tell me how to do this. This is my second tour." And John Krasinski's like, "Bitch, this is my 12th tour. Just get over yourself." So.
Yeah, I liked how the guys compared like their scenario to like the Alamo, and like at first, like they're gunning down folks like it's nothing, and like they keep having to check like, are these friendlies? Are they not? Yeah, they're definitely hostile, and they gun them down no problem. But man, every time they see like an RPG, and then later on we see the mortars, man, they get pretty messed up whenever they get explosives thrown their way. So they were definitely pinned against the wall.
Yeah, the mortars is what really, really jacked them up. Real glad that they shot the bomb that was in the bus, because that probably would have done a whole bunch of damage to them.
Yeah.
But they cut that off. So.
So yeah. Once the sun. It's called 13 hours because pretty much they were in a firefight that entire time, and sun comes up. They're all exhausted, and they finally get their reinforcements in, and it seems like they're, almost, going to get taken out by this huge squad of people, but, it ends up being friendlies. And so, yeah, they, like Joey's showing, they threw up the hanging loose sign, and they knew that, they were all good. And, yeah, they finally got out of there and, flew home. And all the guys are like, man, this is my last tour. This was ridiculous. I can't believe I survived this. And not all of them did, fortunately. Last shot of that sunken flag was pretty poignant. And then like in the typical movie like this, you see all like the real people, and it's a tribute to them. They show like, I guess there's a memorial from them somewhere, and I guess they got in private got medals of honor or whatever. I'm not sure what the award recognition is for what they got, but something.
Yeah, it was some highest awards they could get for like private. The private sector, and of course the CIA director, he got an award for leading them out and all that stuff, even though he wanted to stay, and they're like, you're just gonna get people killed again.
Yeah, he was kind of doing the try to go down with the ship deal, and they wouldn't let him have it. It was like, come on, be realistic here. So a very heavy movie. Real people died in this, but at least we get to honor their story, and I guess be somewhat entertained with this crazy Michael Bay action flick now.
Yeah, it was. I definitely thought it was entertaining. Like I said, a little bit earlier, it was just I guess it was surreal because it was real.
Now I'm torn kind of between a 4.5 and a 4, and I think I would go probably. I guess I'll go ahead 4.5. Especially with those like more realistic handheld scenes that really kind of make you feel like you're there. I mean, I get the criticisms of this with the machismo, but I think that's what this story is. And at the end of the day, I think they depicted it well.
I mean, yeah, if you're over there basically as mercenaries for your own country, like your former military, you're over there as private sector security guards, soldiers, whatever you want to call it. Like you've got to have. You're an alpha. You've got the big dick swinging, at least in your head. So of course, I think the machismo makes perfect sense.
And so, what did you give this one?
I gave it 4.
Right
Thought
on.
it was a very good action flick.
And right after the break, we're going to lighten things up quite a bit and go into some good old Guy Ritchie style gangster flick fun. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Now we're on talking about some Rocknrolla from 2008. This is from Guy Ritchie. When a Russian mobster orchestrates a crooked land deal, millions of dollars are up for grabs, drawing in the entire London underworld into a feeding frenzy at a time when the old criminal regime is losing turf to a wealthy foreign mob. I'm not sure how I feel about that synopsis, but I guess we'll go with it. Because the politics of this movie, they're kind of confusing.
A little bit.
But it's a Guy Ritchie style movie, so we got that fun stuff going. Now, I know I have seen this movie before, but I virtually had no memory of it. I think maybe the only scene I kind of remembered was whenever the dude is running from the other dude on the train tracks and he's getting all exhausted. But, yeah, my only memory of this was like, it was a movie that like kind of came out after Smokin' Aces and looked just like that kind of movie, but it was a little different.
I enjoyed Smoking Aces. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I enjoyed that a lot.
Now, whether it be Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels or The Gentleman, like you can always tell what a Guy Ritchie movie is, one of these gangster flicks. I mean, there's plenty of badasses. There's some really nasty crime bosses in there. There's some gangster action. There's some fast talking. There's some laughs. There's some violence. There's some narration. Yeah, I would. My freshman year at college, there's a guy named Will, and he handed me 3 movies that changed my life. He handed me Clerks. He handed me The Royal Tenenbaums, and he handed me Snatch. And each one of those movies, it kind of blew my mind and how like movies could be made in different ways. So like Snatch has always been on the pinnacle. I rewatched it last year and it's still fucking amazing. These movies kind of like, it's like he's still trying to make something as good as Snatch, but he just can't remake Snatch, unfortunately. So they can only rival it. But I mean, it's nice to kind of live back in that world. I mean, how do you see his filmography?
I was originally introduced through Lock, Stock, and I was not a fan, and so I avoided his movies for a while, and then Carl was like, "You're watching fucking Snatch, like we're gonna do it," and I was blown away by it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I got the Steelbook now. And I mean, you can tell a Guy Ritchie movie is a Guy Ritchie movie. Maybe not Aladdin, but like everything else, like even King Arthur, it's like this is a Guy Ritchie movie. Like you can just tell. So he definitely has that specific style.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. Very dynamic way he tells the stories. Loved how this one opens up with the whole like animation thing. Now, did you like the Rocknrolla?
Did I like the Rocknrolla?
Yeah, the dude, the son who's like rebelling against his gangster asshole dad.
I mean, his gangster asshole dad, who is Falcone Marconi, because it bothered me the whole movie that I couldn't recognize who he was. So I looked it up, and it's Falcone Marconi. Um, I don't know. The dude was kind of a fucking prick. The kid, he was also
Yeah.
kind of a prick.
I didn't enjoy him whatsoever until like the very end. So yeah, it's
But
funny how this whole thing is like
Archie is
based off
great.
of this persona he has of the rock and roller, and yet I hate him like most of the way through. Yeah, I was definitely more into Jared Butler's character throughout. Gerard Butler.
I was gonna let you have it. I was into Archie. Arch was the dude. The bad guy from Kick Ass. He was the dude.
So yeah, I love how this it brings us into the world with like a lot of exposition, but it's told in like creative ways. Like they're like taking like upper angle shots of people up on the second floor, and like they're talking about how like they do these property scheming deals or whatever, and they scan like the courts and like the different areas, and they really kind of like illustrate the fact that this Lenny guy, he has it all like figured out, and he has all like the bureaucrats in his pockets there, and he can get it done whatever he wants. And then gosh, and then he screws over the two guys like who like trusted him to make a deal, but then like he gets back in his car and he's just like, man, why would you do that? I mean, they're from the same area as you. And he's just like, you just gotta put these other guys in check because Lenny wants to stay on top.
Yeah, he screwed them out of a deal and made them pay him for screwing them out of the deal.
Yeah, pretty brutal. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a comeuppance here. Yeah, I thought it for the amount of characters and the amount of settings that we juggle between. I thought they were all. I wouldn't say they're all well developed, but you got a firm understanding of who is who. But I wish they're like in Snatch, like everyone I feel is like who everyone is. Where in this one, like when we get to like Jeremy Piven and Ludacris, like we know that they're like in the music business, but we don't spend really much time with them at all because they're just kind of freaking out about trying to get this picture and trying to find this rock star that you don't really get a sense of who they are. So some parts of that felt rushed, where every seems pretty seamless in Snatch.
I mean, they were just his agents basically, or his people they're producers or whatever, and he was. I feel like they were super like important compared to everybody else. So.
But yeah, great cast. Gerard Butler, Tom Wilkinson, Idris Elba, Tom Hardy, Jeremy Piven, Ludacris, and Mark Strong. Really great cast. Like no matter who like Guy Ritchie plugs into these gangster roles of his, I mean, people flourish pretty well. He must be definitely an actor's director. Now, one thing I noticed in this is that he wasn't quite as racist as he usually is. Like in The Gentleman, I think, and in Snatch, like he always makes his black characters look kind of dumb, but actually the black characters were quite intelligent and charming in this one. I thought. I mean, Idris Elba was great. You had the other guy who was all into like classic movies. Was very charming. So. But
it's real hard to make Idris Elba look stupid. I mean, dude's too good.
Well, I mean, he's one of the gangsters, so obviously, yeah, he's going to be painted in that kind of light. But this movie more so, I guess, kind of it poked fun at gay guys a little bit.
A little bit. It was either poking fun or had some homoerotic tendencies.
I mean, it was kind of built into the plot too, so it wasn't like overboard, but at the same time, like, yeah, they were definitely poking that bear. So, I mean, it's been interesting, like, from your perspective. So, like, from like a social media perspective, like Pride Month has been like this whole like huge thing, like from my perspective on social media, because like every organization's really latching onto it. I mean, have you noticed that?
I mean, they do that every year. I mean, I've seen definitely more of the memes from a lot of my friends where it's like the Mr. Krabs meme. It's like, what made you decide to fly the rainbow flag? And it's like, money. But I've just got a lot of friends who, like me, support that. You know, not just this month, but all the time. But and then my friends on social media who are in those groups, of course, are going, going full out as they should. So.
Yeah, it's a shame I'm not more social. I don't know as many folks in different groups like that. But I definitely back when I was like in college and working in more of a big office setting. It was fun getting to meet different kinds of people like that. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. So yeah. So what did you think of that MacGuffin painting thing? I was almost thinking. With a little Pulp Fiction kind of reference there. Maybe there's a briefcase or maybe a Pulp Fiction poster on that painting that we never see.
Yeah, you never see the painting. But it's his lucky painting. It's not his dirty laundry, so at least there's that, I guess. I kind of figured we were never going to get to see the painting, and then of course we didn't. So.
It didn't really cross my mind until I really started thinking about it. I was like, we didn't ever see it. I don't really care either. It was, I
mean, what would it have added? Like, nothing. Unless they had put whatever was on it onto the plot as to why it was the Russian mobster's lucky photo or painting.
It was kind of a tease because Guy Ritchie, like, on a lot of ways, like, he would like tease things like, hey, this happened, but we're not going to show you. But we're going to show you later. So maybe it was in the back of everybody's mind that like we wouldn't see this painting at the very end. But we didn't. And we didn't need to. It wasn't really that big of a deal.
I mean, yeah, just like we don't really need to know what's in the briefcase.
But we did need to know what happened during that second heist. Because that's like one of the best parts of the movie. I digress. All right, so... Yeah, talking about Lenny a little bit, he's the big bad. He talks down to everybody, wants to keep everybody under his thumb, but man, he acts pretty sheepish as hell whenever he is talking with this Russian guy in order to get this big land deal settled.
Yeah, and they make it, where Lenny's supposed to be this all-powerful and like crazy rich dude, but then it's like, yeah, the Russians can just buy you, and it's like. So is he not as rich as we think, or is these guys just supposed to be that crazy rich? And I guess when they lose $7 million or 7 million euros and go back and get 7 million more euros like it's nothing, they're that crazy rich.
Now the plot gets a little muddled. Like we have the Thondwe Newton character, and like so her main purpose. What?
Thandie Newton?
Thandie Newton? Is that how you say it? Thank you.
Yeah, there's no W in there for my understanding like you have here in the script, brother.
But I copied and pasted it from IMDb.
I'm pretty sure it's Thandie Newton. I could be mistaken.
Anyways, but yeah, like going through the movie, like yeah, her main purpose is there to be the love interest to Gerard Butler, but she's also this accountant who's working with the Russians and supplying them with money. But then she feeds like her thug Gerard Butler with the information on when these handoffs are going to take place, and then she steals the money from her clients. So I'm not really sure if I ever really grasped what was going on there. Was she like, and she wasn't really connected to Lenny, so that was very muddled.
Well, she was married to the gay lawyer, and she had the good accounting job, and they said a couple times how basically she was just bored and wanted to do shit that was dangerous, and so that's why I guess she was hooked up with the Russian, and then that's why she was all like, well, still this 7 million, you give me 20%. It was, I think, a little dumb to try to do it a second time. It's not my accountants this time. It's a couple of heavies. It's like, you know what? No, we got away with it the first time. We should be good. We should just stop while we're ahead.
Yeah, jeez Louise. Yeah, they pay for it the second time. Man, Elba and Butler, man, they had some pretty freaking amazing chemistry. You got Tom Hardy in there too, but he's kind of he plays third wheel to those two guys.
well, he's supposed to just be the driver in their group,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's the one getting the information from the gay lover, the gay husband, since
Yep.
he's handsome Bob.
Yep. Bob.
Handsome Bob loves the pussy, except for not.
Do you recall what the paperwork guy, the one that was like, he kind of looked like not Middle Eastern descent, but like maybe Pakistan, India kind of deal. And he was like all nervous when he's smoking that cigar from Lenny, and they hook him up with that babe. Do you remember what his role was? And I know he was doing some kind of paperwork thing, but
I don't remember. Like, I don't remember that at all.
remember Lenny gives him the lighter. He's like, hey,
The
I bought.
counselor.
What was it, the count?
He was a lawyer, yeah.
Oh, okay. Lots of characters. Lots of characters.
Yeah, he gives him you gave him the $1,000 lighter that he only paid $100 for.
Now, I think the big difference between this movie and Snatch is this one is just not nearly as funny as Snatch. Like, I think my biggest laugh in this whole thing was like whenever they revealed that the painting's missing by like slowly painting up on the wall and Lenny falls in his chair. I mean, that was a pretty funny moment, but for the most part, this just does not have the knee slaps craziness that Snatch does. I think that's its biggest weakness.
Yeah, and it doesn't have some of the like stuff that isn't really supposed to be funny but is funny. Like, your gun says replica down the side. Mine says Desert Eagle .45. It's like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, that's an awesome scene, and the characterization of each of the characters in Snatch is so much better developed to where here we're mostly just focusing on that little love story and some of the internal politics, but not all the internal politics, and so it doesn't quite come together as neatly. Big contrast between the two millions of dollar Euro heists, where the first one they're like, give us the car, and they give them the car, and they're like, how do you put it in reverse? And they're like, oh, you click that button there, and they drive off, no problem. And then the second time they're going up against the Terminator Russians, who like are comparing scars right before they go into battle here with like, this is from barbed wire and this is from a gun.
I got murdered and resurrected myself and got murdered again, and that's where this scar came from. It's like, oh, calm down, man.
That was a lot of fun whenever they go to that one black guy and he's like, I guess just this guy who knows stuff, and like he talks to him in the back of some like
The
SUV.
think tank?
Yeah, that was it. And like he's watching this DVD of like some kind of like what do they call that Downton Abbey genre?
Downtown Abbey, I don't know. British history.
Yeah, like British aristocrats kind of deal. And so this guy is really into British aristocrats movies. And so like I was watching the little movie and I caught that, he said like, oh, this has been all remastered and restored. And I'm like, hey, that's what us nerd cinephiles do all the time. But I thought for sure this movie was Howard's End because I recognized Anthony Hopkins there. But then when I actually went on IMDb and like looked up, but I also recognized Hugh Grant was in this movie. And so how Anthony Hopkins and Hugh Grant were not in Howard's End, but they were actually in The Remains of the Day. So I figured that movie out. Do you ever get intrigued to look up these little things in movies?
Yes, sometimes, but also a lot of times, like by the time I got to the end of the movie, I wasn't really thinking about what was the dude watching.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who knows me or has listened, I mean, there's a reason some of the movies I've bought is because they're in or referenced in other movies, i.e. specifically Kill Bill and Kill Bill 2.
Yeah.
Where I have Clan of the White Lotus and I have Shogun Assassin and all the rest of Lone Wolf and Cubs. I have Lady Snowblood, so forth and so on. So
we failed to mention in 13 Hours they were watching Tropic Thunder in that.
Oh yeah, they did watch Tropic Thunder. Classic, classic. That's classic right there.
Need to rewatch it.
I have never seen it actually.
Um, but they make fun of junkies a lot in this, so they make a big point of the junkies being silly and taking stuff. Love how it builds up to the moments, but then we see it later. Kind of mentioned that earlier. In this one, so like we finally get to the area where like the big bad is like trying to threaten people in order to get information, and he has this whole like crawfish death trap, which is basically just an imitation version of the pigs thing from Snatch, but not as cool. Here in the South, they call them crawdads. They're pretty small, but I guess yeah, crawfish get a little larger.
Yeah, those were definitely bigger. Those were American crayfish, I think is what he was calling them. They're not crawfish. Um, but definitely taking some shot at some at Americans for being greedy and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff in that scene too. So
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. I didn't quite pick up on that, but yeah, that makes sense for them wanting to spread and not to leave kind of deal. Oh, and then we get into the whole like searching for Johnny Quid, and there's this whole convoluted thing about oh the papers say he's dead, but he's not, and then we go through that rigmarole several times, and um, yeah, we're introduced to the whole club owners slash the people like who signed Johnny's contract, and so they're kind of looking for him because they're looking for the art because apparently Johnny randomly stole this art from his dad, which is just kind of out there, but happened, and
because
we
it
just kind of
spoke
have
to
to
him and
deal with it.
he couldn't give it away. He couldn't give it up.
Man, and they show yeah. This movie, I enjoyed the flashbacks, kind of giving some more characterization to some of the characters. Where like we see the young Johnny, and he's like playing some music in his room, and his asshole stepdad comes in and beats him, and then like it's just like you better keep it down, and as soon as
He's
he
like,
leaves,
nope.
yep, he just cranks it back up again, and then dad has to take off his belt. So
And he
yeah,
gets sent to like the most expensive school.
wasted your money.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I guess at the very end, I mean, that dick influence of a stepfather really rubbed off on him, and he was able to be intimidating himself. Not that he was all that interesting of a character until the end. Got the underwear party where yeah, we find out we connect Bob and the gay lawyer in order to get the informant aspect in, which when actually they bring it up, you don't think it's going to be as important as it is, but it's like pretty much like the main crutch of the movie.
Yeah,
Um,
you expect it to be. You think the painting's the main thing in the movie, and then it's really this. He hits you kind of with the old switcheroo.
it was neat how like Gerard Butler and the girl like they decide to dance in the party, and like I guess they're conversing back and forth about the second heist, and it shows up as like on-screen text. So it's like, why are they doing that? Oh, okay, because we can't hear what they're saying, but we can kind of hear what they're saying, but they're telling us anyways.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could. It was like, would we have heard that without it on screen? Maybe. Like I don't know, because it was. You read it and you're like, oh yeah, I did hear him say that, but
Very
very
lightly.
quietly. Yeah.
And then you have characters like Cookie, like I said before, like everybody in Snatch, you really got a good idea of who like um the butcher was or like the pikeys were. But like Cookie's like thrown in there and he's like this in-between guy who gets shit done, but you don't really know much about him, but yeah, he's the in-between guy who gets shit done. Got the crazy ass heist scene where the fucking Terminator Russians are like what they slam into the car thinking that's going to take care of him, but then they go after him and they go after him again, and he's climbing on the roof of the car with the damn Rambo knives. It's
Yeah.
pretty nuts.
They had like hit him with baseball bats or something.
Golf clubs,
Yeah, it was like all of them took a shot, and it
a
was just
random piece of wood in the darn um uh yeah, train tunnel.
yeah, and he's just running forever.
Yeah, and then the big one finally gets worn out. That was pretty funny. And then once the big one gets worn out, the little one is, yeah, running at him all like T1000 style. So.
But then eventually they're both just, when they both of them end up tired out, or they fight.
It was kind of weird how it ended. Like he did the whole like blowjob gesture to him and kind of walked off, and the other guy just kind of was like kind of retreated. I don't know. Pretty funny to see Elba grab that tiger scooter and helmet and ride off. That was pretty fun.
I mean, hey, whatever works in that situation, right?
Yeah, whatever wheels you can grab. Save yourself some energy. So by this point, the Russians know that Lenny's just like totally fucking him over. So they take him out to the golf course and fuck up his leg pretty good. And I love how like they tell him like, by dawn, you should be able to reach your vehicle again. And then you can give us our painting. See ya.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck you, we're not even going to leave this golf cart here for you. You got to crawl.
And then, so like, what Gerard Butler's just kind of hanging out in his flat or whatever, listening to music, and the Russians like sneak up on him, and they're
after Homegirl shows up and gives him the fun time.
Yeah,
and he gives her the painting.
Well, it starts off where like so like they don't actually show us the second heist at first. They like breeze past it and you're like, huh, what's up with that? But then whenever like Butler and her show up in the restaurant for the money exchange, he explains, all the shit that we get to see what all went down in the second heist. Yeah, then they hook up, they get Bezet, gets the money, she gets the money from him. But yeah, then the Russians show back up and want to do him like Gimp style, like some Pulp Fiction craziness. So a lot of Nazi QT in here.
Yeah, for sure. They were gonna do some very unsavory things to him.
As he's screaming with a sock in his mouth and they're dancing around drunk in their Russian hats and underwear. It's like, what are you doing?
and then Art shows up.
Yeah. He's just like, what is going on here? And they gun him down.
And then Idris Elba and Tom Hardy show up because they've got this file. And so they all get taken back to the Thames. Because it's like them, and that's when they all kind of meet together. Because then Johnny Quid shows up, and Ludacris and Jeremy Piven are there.
Because they snuck off with the two guys snuck off with the painting and sold it to Cookie, who got it to the girl, who then the Russian sees it, and he's just like, oh. Here's my painting. I guess I'm going to have to kill you now. They didn't really tie up that very well.
It was very assumed because he's just like, oh, it's a very nice painting. How long have you had it? And she's like, oh, I've had it forever. And it's like...
time to die.
Yeah. And then we get...
So then we go back to the, wherever they do the whole crawfish thing.
Yeah, and... they're about to start torturing, and Tom Hardy's like, look, I got a file right here. You don't have to do anything. And this is after I think he shot his son in the gut. Yeah,
everybody's pretty like, oh my God, with that.
Because he was about to tell him that his dad was the one who put Arch away for like 4 years, and then Tom Hardy has the file on who the
I didn't catch that.
Is.
Interesting.
Yeah, because he was like, Arch, who do you think sent you away? And this is when his dad, is when Lenny shoots him.
Okay, that makes sense. Didn't catch that the first time. Glad you pointed it out. Yeah,
I shoots. My moments.
Shoots him in the gut, takes him away, and gives him the file. And then they go in the whole thing about his alias and how he sold out all his buddies and how he had this whole.
Anybody was getting too big for their britches.
Yep, he'd send them away.
Arch is super loyal, but he's greedy 4 years.
So Lenny's a piece of shit. They go and feed him to the crawfish, however that works.
And then, the Johnny Quid tells him how to get out of dying.
Yeah, he like lays out exactly what the dudes are about to do. So like he talks them into helping him get the gun and get him out of there. So that was a pretty cool scene. And then he cleans up and He hugs Archie, and then we get a little animated sequence suggesting that there's going to be another one.
So
Who
we're back in
knows?
the real Rocknrolla. And that was in 2008, and we're in 2021. It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a real rock and roller. I guess maybe this didn't hit audiences as well as I guess Guy Ritchie hoped. I mean it's pretty good for a Guy Ritchie movie, but I mean it pales in comparison to some of his others. So I would would I go 3.5? I think I'd probably go 4 with it, just because I enjoy these kind of movies so much. But it definitely has its weaknesses.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 as well. So.
All right, so let's take care of some business here at the end of the show. So Joey, I gave you the category of a Wes Anderson movie. So what are we watching next time?
And so on the last episode, you said, since I read the synopsis a lot, that you had an idea what you thought I was going to pick. I just wanted to see what you thought. I have a feeling that you thought I was going to pick, that I may pick Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, I thought you were going to pick Bottle Rocket, because you tend to pick the ones I like the least of the directors I show you.
Nah, I was actually between Grand Budapest Hotel and Rushmore.
Okay.
And I decided on Rushmore.
Cool.
That seemed like it would be a good time, and that's why I gave the Jason Schwartzman quote at the beginning of the episode.
Okay. It's all making sense.
Since apparently he is excuse me, Mr. Anderson's favorite ooh, wow, excuse me again. His favorite boy.
Okay. All right. Let me type in these numbers in the old random generator to see where our Wheel of Destiny takes us next. So, generate. I have number 13. That's a pretty good number. I'm going to make sure that this list is organized by... how do I do this? I do it by...
How much you did yours alphabetically?
I do. Rating average. Okay, I think it's already done alphabetically.
Say it should be, unless you change it.
13 is gonna be Dr. Zhivago. How about that?
Dr. Zhivago.
Yes, Dr. Zhivago is from David Lean. This is the Russian epic about the Russian Revolution. Been wanting to get back to that for the longest time. And now I get to share it with Joey.
Oh boy, I've been so impressed with all of the Russian movies we've watched so far.
Well, think of like Lawrence of Arabia in Russia.
I mean, okay, I still need to see Lawrence of Arabia. It's been on my list for a hot minute. And also right now I'm just kind of spinning wheels, delaying, trying to figure out what category I want to give you, since you unintentionally ruined my category on your own. Oh
yeah. But that was only going to be 2 movies, which I'm actually planning on watching that other movie after we get done.
Oh, we'll see. It kind of worked itself out. So to try to change it up, I was trying to do something different than just watch this director, because that's kind of where we've been at. I was gonna on Letterboxd, if you're a patron or a pro, you can see these different lists and how far like into each of them you are. And Justin had one that only had 2 movies left, and I was gonna make him pick between those, but then he kind of just watched them. On his own.
Well, I only had 2 movies to go. I was hanging fruit.
So I think just on the fly, instead of doing directors, I'm gonna go with an actor.
Okay.
So any movie starring Kurt fucking Russell.
Oh, okay. Good. I like it. A lot of directions to go there.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of options.
What has you in a Kurt Russell mood?
Because Kurt Russell is like a goat. He is one of the goats. I don't know, when I was spinning my wheels on the way home, like it just connected from something else, and I was like, oh yeah, Kurt Russell will be good. There's a lot of options there. So
Okay. So next episode we got Rushmore and Dr. Zhivago.
yep. That sounds very much like a Justin podcast, whereas this one definitely sounded like a me episode.
What can you do? There's a very fine distinction line, but we do at least give each other input on these distinction lines.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. And if you'd like us to answer any question on the podcast, now I apologize. There was a guy who a while back said, I really want to hear your thoughts, Justin, on Nosferatu, the silent film. And I totally forgot about that. And then I remembered about it whenever I was looking through some movies, and I was like, oh, there's the silent Nosferatu. I will watch the silent Nosferatu for the next show. So I just want to throw that out there. But if you have any requests, questions, just hit us up. How do they do it, Joey?
They can go to the average movie. Oh, wow, no. They can hit us up by going to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com, or they can hit our Facebook page where there's a red button that'll do that for them. They can message us. They can leave comments below. They can go to our Letterboxd pages. If they know us, they can just message us on Facebook. Whatever. There's lots of avenues to get in touch with us, and we would very much appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, Justin, why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about movies.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non mi piace il feeling. Spirito to something.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.